Have you ever found a deal online that just seemed way too good to be true? Like, so cheap that your gut immediately tells you something is wrong, but your bank account tells you to shut up and book it? Yeah, I did that. And I am making this video because, well, honestly, I need to know if anyone else has experienced this or if I'm actually losing my mind. Last October, I was going through a pretty rough patch. I just needed to get away from the city, unplug, and reset. I was scrolling through rental listings and found this isolated cabin in the dense woods of the Pacific Northwest. Washington State, right on the edge of the Olympic National Park. The listing had no reviews, but the pictures were gorgeous. A heavy timber cabin, huge windows, surrounded by these massive, ancient pine trees. And the price? It was like $40 a night. I booked it for a week. That was my first mistake. I drove up there on a Tuesday. The last 10 miles were completely off the grid. No cell service, just a dirt road that felt like it was swallowing my car. By the time I pulled up to the cabin, it was dusk. The shadows from those trees, they stretch out in a way that makes the whole forest look like it's leaning in to watch you. I let myself in using a lockbox. The place was exactly like the photos. Cozy, warm. But sitting right in the middle of the kitchen table was a single piece of yellow notepad paper. It was a note from the host. It said, "Welcome. Hope you enjoy the quiet. For your safety, you must follow these 3 rules. If you cannot follow them, leave before the sun sets." I thought it was a joke. Like a quirky Airbnb host trying to make the stay spooky for Halloween. So I read them. Creepy, right? But whatever. Bears are a thing. Maybe it's just to keep wildlife from getting agitated by the lights. Rule number 2. If you hear a dog whining at the back door, do not open it. There are no dogs within 50 miles of this property. And rule number 3. This was the one that actually made the hair on my arm stand up. Rule number 3. If the antique rotary phone in the hallway rings, answer it immediately. But do not speak. Just listen until the caller hangs up. I laughed it off. I crumpled up the paper, threw it in the trash, and unpacked. The first 2 days were actually amazing. I hiked, I read, I made coffee. But on Thursday night, things changed. It was around 11:30 p.m. I was lying on the couch, reading a book. The cabin was dead silent. I hadn't closed the blackout curtains yet. I just forgot. Then, I heard it. I froze. It wasn't a branch. It was rhythmic, deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I looked at the massive glass window. Outside, it was pitch black. But just at the edge of the glass, I saw a hand. Swallow hard. Let your eyes widen a bit. It was impossibly pale. And the fingers? The fingers were too long. They looked like pale, hairless spider legs, just gently tapping against the glass. I hit the floor. I literally dropped to the floor and crawled to the edge of the curtains and yanked them shut. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. I sat in the dark for 3 hours until the sun came up. The next morning, I packed my bags. I didn't care about the money. I was out of there. But when I went to start my car, dead. The battery was completely drained. Not just dead, but the hood was unlatched, and the battery cables had been physically disconnected and thrown into the mud. I was trapped. No cell service. 10 miles to the nearest highway. Night fell again. This time, I closed every curtain in the house at 8 p.m. I locked every door. I armed myself with a heavy iron fire poker and sat in a chair facing the hallway. Around 1 a.m., the sound started. A dog, whining at the back kitchen door. It sounded so sad, so hurt. Every human instinct I had screamed at me to open the door and help it. But I remembered rule number 2. There are no dogs within 50 miles. I walked slowly to the door. I didn't open it, but I pressed my ear against the heavy wood. The whining stopped. And then, right on the other side of the door, inches from my face, I heard a voice. It didn't sound like a dog. It sounded like a man, mimicking a dog. Let me in. I'm cold. I backed away so fast I tripped over a rug. I sat in the corner, holding my breath, just praying for daylight. The rotary phone in the hallway. It was 3:14 a.m. The phone was ringing. Rule number 3, answer it immediately. But do not speak. I walked over. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely lift the receiver. I put it to my ear. I didn't say a word. I just breathed. On the other end, there was static. Heavy, thick static. And then the sound of someone crying. A woman. She was sobbing uncontrollably. Then the static cleared, and the woman's voice said, "Why did you open the curtains? Now they know you're in there. They're coming down the chimney. I heard a scrape on the roof, right above the fireplace." I didn't wait. I dropped the phone, unlocked the front door, and I ran. I ran into the pitch black woods. I didn't have a flashlight. I just let the dirt road guide my feet. I ran for what felt like hours, hearing twigs snapping in the trees parallel to me. Something was keeping pace with me in the dark. Eventually, I saw headlights. It was a logging truck heading out early in the morning. I jumped into the middle of the road, waving my arms. He stopped and picked me up. He asked me where I came from. I told him about the cabin at the end of the dirt road. The driver went dead pale. He looked at me and said, "Son, that cabin burned down in 1998. The family inside, they didn't make it out." I thought he was crazy. But when the local police took me back up that road a few hours later to get my car, there was no cabin. My car was sitting in the middle of a charred, empty foundation. I still have the yellow piece of paper. It was in my pocket when I ran. But here is the part that keeps me awake at night, the part that made me turn on this camera. Last night, I was sitting in my apartment in Seattle. It was raining. And at exactly 11:30 p.m., I heard a tapping on my 4th floor bedroom window. I haven't opened my curtains since. If anyone knows what this is, please tell me in the comments, because I don't know how much longer I can stay awake.